Today is a financial data transparency day. Now, as some of you may know, my partner PJ and I started an LLC, Page and PJ Productions, back in June of 2025 with the goal of offering authors that we work with a royalty share option to go wide. This is only for things that we narrate. It is not a production company. We are not looking for other narrators. This is just something for those working with us solo or together, at least for now. We'll see. No promises. However, we started with As Above, So Below by D.M. Darcy. This was originally a Royalty Plus option that we did through ACX, but we pulled it down from there, and she became our very first title. And I wanted to provide financial data from the beginning of her distribution on Audible exclusively to now. So, As Above, So Below is a 15-hour duet narrated romantasy. As I said, we distributed on Audible through ACX exclusively, and it was for almost exactly 6 months. The book was released on January 14th, and we pulled it down on July 15th. In that time period, in that 6-month time period, we sold 120 copies of that audiobook, and the total amount received between the two of us was $523.48, which equals approximately $4.36 per copy. So she got $261.74, and we got $261.74, which equates to roughly $2.18 per unit sold. Now, that very same day that it came down from Audible, we put it up on our website directly. So that was July 15th. So the following data is from July 15th through September 30th because I don't have October numbers from the wide platforms. And I am not including direct website sales from October either in order to make sure that the time represented is accurate. Since July 15th, 2.5 months of wide distribution, we sold 24 units, 14 of them at half price, and a couple at a slightly discounted price. And that came out to $221.70, roughly $9.23 per copy. So each of us got $4.62. We sold 5 units at a book convention for $10 each, which is about 3/4 of the price that we normally sell it. And we made $42.56, so $8.51 per copy, $3.37 each. On ACX, in 2.5 months, we've sold 44 units as a non-exclusive. For that, we received $122.44, $2.78 per copy, or $1.39 each. We had one library direct purchase, which was $10.21, so we each got $5.11 for that. It has been checked out of libraries 27 times for $24.57, roughly 91 cents per rental, or 45 to 46 cents each. And then we have the pools. So Kobo Plus, which we do distribute to directly. We don't use an aggregator like InAudio or Authors Republic, and we use InAudio, but not for Kobo. For Kobo Plus, we sold one. And by that, I mean that the equivalent of a full book was listened to, 1,500 minutes. And that came out to $19.82, so $9.91 to each of us. On Spotify, also direct, the only way to do it now, we had 2 full listens and 1 partial listen, which came out to $12.96. On Storytel, we had 8 listens, which is $24.35, roughly $3.04 per unit. Barnes & Noble, 1 sale, $3.84. TuneIn, we had a little bit of a listen, so we got 2 cents. Scribd, we got $2.50. And that is a grand total across all of the platforms of $477.74. And that's $238.87. Now, I know that was a lot of numbers to remember, and I don't expect you to do so. So here is a quick little wrap-up of that. In the 6 months we were exclusive to Audible, we made $523.48 total, $261.74 each. In 2.5 months being wide, we made $464.52 total, and $232.26 each. So there was a difference of $58.96. We made almost $60 more on Audible exclusively in 3 times the amount of time that it took us to sell wide. If sales on this title continued at the rate that we have seen over the past 2.5 months, then in 6 months, we would make $1,114.85 total, which is more than double what we made exclusive to Audible in the same amount of time. Now, in reality, do we expect the sales to continue at that rate? No, we were recording Book 2 live on TikTok, which sent a surge to our website to buy Book 1. But it is very nice to see that libraries are getting use. We love that. That Kobo Plus was actually paying more for a full listen in the September pool than a direct purchase was. It's just interesting data and further proof that even though Audible does have the market share, that doesn't always translate to money for indie audiobooks making the most. Now, an argument could be made that because Audible has the hugest market share, a chokehold, one might say, that, yeah, we'll make less, but it'll be in the ears of more readers, but the data also doesn't support that. In the 2.5 months that we've had it wide, 44 units were on ACX, but almost 70, and it's hard to tell because of partial listens, etc., were listened to outside of Audible. So not quite double, but another, I can do math, 26 units? So that is not necessarily an argument either. I am presenting all this data in hopes of encouraging more people to go wide with their audiobooks if they can, because so much of the information that we get is that if it's not on Audible, people aren't going to buy it and people aren't going to listen to it. And the data suggests otherwise. And I think from a business perspective, it is a good idea to diversify your portfolio. As we found out during the AWS outage, a lot of things weren't purchasable, but my website was. I could still listen to stuff on Kobo. So having those options is always a good idea, not to mention selling at conventions. Selling directly, you always know what you're going to get from that versus relying on pools and libraries and other big corporations that are taking a larger amount of money than possibly they should. In the grand scheme of things, not using Audible or not solely using Audible is not about hurting Bezos, or taking money out of Amazon's pockets or whatever. They're always going to get their cut. They're not putting money into the products that they are selling. So that's neither here nor there. It's about helping creatives get more for the effort that they have put in for the same price or less than what Audible is selling things at. The goal is to reduce market share. It's to reduce the capability of predatory practices and squeezing of creators from which they would not have a platform if those creators did not exist. And I'm not saying cancel anything. I am not saying that at all. Support where you can, how you can. But if you're an author, I do strongly suggest, again, if you can, going wide. I will probably report back in another few months with an update on said title. And I know you all are thinking, well, why just this title page? Because it's the one I have permission for. That's why. It is the title I have permission to share these numbers with. And for that, thank you, DM Darcy. Thank you to all the authors who have trusted me and PJ with this venture. And I hope that going forward, it continues to give us data and money like this so authors can continue to write and we can continue to narrate. Thank you all for sticking around. I know this was a lot. Have a lovely week.